Welcome to Exploring Monterey Bay, a program on KSQD and KSQT 90.7, 89.7, and 89.5 FM. I'm your host, Mathilde Rand, and my guest is Gina Castaneda. Gina Castaneda is a Deputy Probation Officer with the Santa Cruz County. She is the Program Director of the Aztecas Youth Soccer Program, as well as the head coach. She has received many awards and recognition for her work, including the California Assembly 28th District First Peace Award in 2011. Welcome, Gina.
Thank you for having me.
In education, we often say that when students get the gist of reading, they get themselves going. But we also realize that when students come to school hungry, the rate of learning goes way down. There are teachers who have a snack or two in their desk for those situations. And they've also sent students to my office, and I took them to the cafeteria to get them some food. I've seen the change in them, both of the feeling of being nourished and the positive interaction with our staff and the cafeteria women. Now, Gina, rather than me telling your story, can you tell us about your early experiences?
I was born in Watsonville, California, to my mom and my dad. My mom has her own tragic story. She became a teenage mother, involved with people where there was a lot of domestic violence. I'm the third born. When I was born, I was taken away and put into foster care. And lived in foster care for about a year before my mom got it together, stopped using drugs and alcohol, and got a stable home for us to live. So I was returned home with my mom with my oldest brother. The second oldest actually stayed in foster care for several years after that, because he needed more care. But during my early childhood, I lived in a home where I was being taught to grow up like a gang member. And so there was a lot of physical, emotional, and verbal abuse, and it was pretty constant. I would say that it was severe. I remember when I was 6 years old is the first time I took the beating of my life. My mom was asleep and the phone rang, and I woke her up, and she hung up the phone and grabbed me by the hair and dragged me around and kicked me. I remember my scalp bleeding. It was really bad. And I remember after that thinking to myself, why the person that I love this much could inflict that much harm. This type of abuse continued, and it wasn't just with me. It was also with my brothers and sisters, because there's a total of 6 of us from my mom, 5 different fathers, to the point where I used to hide my younger brothers and sisters so that they wouldn't get hurt and I would take the brunt of her abuse. It continued on. I was bullied in school, and I was bullied in school because I was one of those kids. We were poor. We didn't have food at the, my mom was on welfare. We lived off food stamps. And so it was really, really difficult. Things that happened at school really impacted my life to the point where I didn't want to go to school anymore. And I was that kid that was hungry, and teachers gave me snacks. My life was really spiraling. We became homeless, and I lived in a car until the car got towed. And then me, my mom, and my little sister were like living on the levee in Watsonville, the back of Ramsey Park. There used to be a train cart there, and under the slide, so different places we would find to be able to stay, school sites. And I just remember being starving and going to school more for the shelter and the warmth, and also for breakfast and lunch. Mm-hmm. I don't think that I would have survived all of that if it wasn't for people in my life that cared about me. In elementary school, I met a librarian. I found shelter in the library. In middle school, I had a teacher, Miss McGoffin, that was the first person that ever told me that I meant something, that I was good, and that I could be great. And then in high school, I had an athletic director that really helped me, Mr. Mark Durfman at Aptos High School, and he basically took me by the hand and helped me not only in athletics, but in school. You're talking about having snacks in your office. I would go to get snacks in his office. None of the teachers or school staff knew what I was going through. I kept it pretty hidden. I think that a lot of people probably knew something was wrong, but I never told anybody. Mm-hmm. My mom abandoned me and my sisters and brothers when I was about 16. I just took the responsibility of raising my younger brothers and sisters. I went to high school, got good grades because I wanted to play sports, but I worked at Subway, and I kept a pot of frijoles, beans in the refrigerator, and was able to get by and fed my brothers and sisters beans and quesadillas and things that we could get from the food bank and stuff. So pretty challenging childhood and growing up.
You know it all. Yeah.
I don't know if I know it all, but I've seen a lot and felt a lot and experienced a lot.
You played soccer, I believe?
Yeah, so my stepfather played soccer in Mexico, and he was a big part of my life growing up. That's the reason my mom got clean and sober and a place to live. But when we became homeless is because he left my mom, and my mom reverted back to those behaviors. But from the time I was with him, he taught me how to play soccer, and he had an adult men's league in Watsonville, and the adult men thought it was cute that I'd put out their jerseys, and so they taught me how to play soccer. So by the time I got to high school, people were like, where did this girl come from? Because I had been training with adult men. So it's pretty physical, very skilled, did great, made varsity as a freshman. I did volleyball, then I was the best at soccer, and then I did track and field because the athletic director, Mr. Dorfman, said that I had to. But it really kept me doing well in school. I needed it. I needed the mentorship from the coaches. I needed the guidance. I needed a safe space to be.
So soccer helped you?
Yeah, I would say soccer saved my life.
Okay.
It was the only place that I felt like I was thriving, where I felt safe, where I was not just good, but I was great. I was scoring goals. People would cheer for me. People I didn't even know. I was winning awards. It took what I felt as a broken kid to be a kid that was like really thriving, and it encouraged me to want more.
And you belonged.
And I belonged. I had a family. People cared about me. People took care of me. People were cheering me on. It was everything that I needed to get by in some really hard times in my life.
You had a lot of people in school and, of course, in the soccer community.
Yes.
It's wonderful. Then what made you decide in the April of 2008 to start with your husband the Aztecas Soccer Program and work as a volunteer for many years?
I was a counselor before becoming a deputy probation officer, and I started as a deputy probation officer in 2005. After, I think, about 2 years, and I was working with an intense population, one of the highest risk caseloads, I really questioned, is this where I'm supposed to be? Is this where I'm meant to be? And why I was asking myself that was because I had kids that were getting stabbed and shot. I had kids that were getting killed. I had kids that were being arrested and charged as adults for attempted murders and murders. And I really was questioning, like, am I doing enough? Am I having an impact? Am I saving kids' lives? I was in a real wrestle with myself, with my emotions and my mind. There was at a point where in the office, I just started asking kids what they did for fun, because it reminded me of like what I did to get ahead in life. So out of like the 15 kids I had on my caseload, I don't remember the exact number, but it was like 8 to 12 of them said they played soccer at one point in their life. And if you look at the community of Watsonville, soccer really is the passion of the community.
Oh, yeah.
And so I started to investigate a little bit more, like why they stopped playing. They had barriers in their lives where they didn't have support from their parents for transportation. It's very costly to play competitive soccer or competitive sports in general. And so those kids kind of dropped off. And so they were on the streets, and then they started getting involved in like gangs or drugs or criminal activity. Some of them were special needs, and they're the first to get recruited by gang members.
Oh, yes.
I was like, why don't we start a soccer team? And I wrote it up and presented it to my department, and people said probation departments don't have soccer teams, right? And even though before in Santa Cruz County, we had a whole program and soccer team was a component of that, we just didn't have a soccer team anymore. My husband and I saw the need and restarted a team. I've been coaching right now for 32 years, so I've been coaching all my life. So my husband said, if anybody can do it, you can do it. And so basically resold tacos and tamales outside of Soccer Central, and then people started to become aware of what we were doing. We got donations of equipment, donations of money, and we just started this soccer team. And I named it Aztecas after my father's soccer team. He's one of the founders for the Men's Soccer League in Watsonville, and he had a team, and they were called Aztecas. And so searching for the right name to fit this team, I went with Aztecas.
So you said about kids with disability. And I remember as a teacher, I had a third grade student who was pretty tall. He had a hard time. He was socially inept. And so often we had conversations about what he had done. But then also, one point, I had worked with the kids. And when he had done something to another kid in the class, they said, but teacher, listen, he's not the one who started it. The other kid is pestering so much that at some point he just lashes out. And so then we worked on it, and then one time they were actually hanging on this big kid, holding him back. And then we talked about it in class again, but it became really clear that the other student had to stop what he was doing. And the whole class told him that. And, he stopped. And so that was a little bit of help for my student. But unfortunately, later on, in 5th grade, I had him in 3rd, 5th, 6th grade, he joined a gang. Of course, several years later, he walked in the street and he and his sister got shot at, and his sister died. He had nothing. Around that time, I also thought that what is there for kids in Pájaro after school? There's no soccer, at that time. There's no soccer, there's nothing. And I like soccer a lot. But I thought working a whole day is tough enough. And then I'm going to run around after school with the kids playing soccer. I'm going to do something more quietly. So I set up a chess club. And some people thought, a chess club with these kids? And I said, no, they're bright kids. So I had a very nice group of kids. And I actually had another student who also had learning disabilities, but he kind of got intrigued by chess. And I think that's the same thing what happens with kids with soccer. You get intrigued, you get pulled in. Like when we said in the beginning, when you learn how to read and you really dig it, you keep yourself going. So anyway, this kid who never could sit still in his chair, who was part of the chess club, he had to sit still because, the chessboard wasn't going anywhere. And so I noticed how that impacted him in his regular school day, to sit still and to kind of keep himself focused. So I hear what you're saying. It's so important that we give kids a goal, something that makes them feel that they belong, but also something that they can do and that they can grow in. And I think that's what you're doing.
Yeah, I've said this many times, is soccer is just the hook to bring kids in the door. And now we've grown to the point where you don't even have to do soccer to be part of our program. But this kind of programming could be done with chess, it could be done with cooking, it could be done with dance, it could be done with boxing, it could be done with art. It doesn't have to be soccer. It's about what surrounds the soccer program that makes this program amazing.
Right. Well, let's talk about this in a moment, because first I need to remind people that they're listening to KSQD and KSQT, and the program is Exploring Monterey Bay. We're at 89.7, 89.5, and 90.7 FM. And of course, it's streaming on ksqd.org, and we have a KSQD app. So my name is Mathilde Rand. I'm your host, and my guest is Gina Castaneda, Deputy Probation Officer and Program Director of the Aztecas Youth Soccer Program. So let's return to the conversation.
The Aztecas program, it started in April of 2008, and we started with one soccer team and then grew to 2 soccer teams, and that was indoor, and then we grew to a 3rd team, which was an outdoor team. What we really noticed was that, yes, we were taking kids off the streets during high crime times. We were engaging them with adult mentors that were positive. Mm-hmm. It was healthy. They were getting exercise. They had the mentorship. We were feeding them. But then we also noticed they were having truancy issues. They were not doing well in school. We knew that we needed to get a place where kids could be other times. And also, when you're doing soccer, it's 2 to 3 times a week. When you're talking about true gang intervention, if you think about gangs and how they recruit kids, mm-hmm. they're in their neighborhoods 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, offering them food, clothing, shoes, money, whatever they need, right? Because that's how they lure kids in.
Right.
So how would we match that? And so what we ended up doing is we opened a clubhouse. So we have a clubhouse that's open 5 to 6 days a week, and there's programming for kids. So kids learn life skills. They get to do circle time. We've been so successful in our program that when kids have graduated. And let's talk about graduation. When I was a probation officer for 5 years, I maybe had one high school graduate. As the program became so successful, you're talking about 70% graduation rate, then 80% graduation rate, and now 100% graduation rate with the kids that we're serving. We knew that we needed to address like tutoring, education, and really like life skills, time management. And then we were graduating from high school and getting them to junior college, but they didn't know how to maneuver that path either. So now we're doing college applications, FAFSA, helping them apply to colleges. Some kids, we've now gotten kids into 4-year universities that have gotten their BAs. We have one young man that's a social worker. We have a couple probation officers or probation staff. We have some now that are police officers, others that have been super successful in their lives, in the careers that they've chosen. But with all the kids that we're serving, which was the most important to our department, was the recidivism rate went down.
Wonderful.
So the program was helping these kids really change their lives, and they were not coming into custody. They're getting off probation. They're super successful and never re-entering the system.
That's what we want.
That's exactly what we want.
That's exactly. Now, tell us a little bit who you're serving.
We are the County of Santa Cruz,
Right.
which is also really interesting. I feel very lucky to have management and our chiefs really be supportive of our program. And they also recognize that there's a county line, right? And it's drawn at the limit of Watsonville and Pajaro. But we know that we still needed to serve the Pajaro kids in the Pajaro community, even the Las Lomas community. Right. So Aztecas, there's no boundary. We serve all kids in Santa Cruz County and North Monterey County.
Right.
So any kid that, if they're referred through us, through the probation department, the courts, the schools, their counselors, we serve everybody. We don't turn away any kids. And the program's completely free. So if they're doing soccer, we pay for their soccer shoes, all their equipment, their team registrations, because we want to take away all the barriers that they have. We take them on field trips. Say they want to go watch an Earthquakes game, real contact.
Earthquakes game, meaning the
San Jose
San Jose
Earthquakes.
Earthquake soccer
Yeah.
team. Yes.
Yeah, real set up a field trip to San Jose State University. And so they'll get to see the campus, have food, and then go watch a game. So it's really educational based. We know that as kids get higher education, they're less likely to enter the system.
Right. Because they know how to maintain their dignity and to share it with others and treat others with respect.
So they're learning a lot of life skills.
Absolutely.
And when you talk about soccer, and I think you said this earlier too, you're learning discipline. You're learning responsibility. It's teamwork. It's communication. You're having to control your emotions. If you get hit on the soccer field, right, you're having to regulate all that. And then you have adult men mentors from the community that are on the team or on the sidelines that when you are ready to explode because you're so angry, they put their arm around you and they walk you over and they said, hey, let's talk about this. Because in the beginning, it was just me. But we've done such a good job of growing young men, and those young men coming back as mentors, now they do it. The program is really self-sufficient that way.
And my assumption is that your parents are not those parents that stand on the sideline screaming at the kids to go kill that other kid, because that's what we see sometimes.
Yeah, well, I coach competitive soccer and high school soccer, and even I'm an Olympic development coach for the state of California, so I see that a lot.
Right.
But in the Aztecas program, let me tell you a story. It's going to really touch your heart. I will never forget, I had a young man, and he was pretty skilled with the ball. We were playing in a semifinal, and I was like, what are you doing? Like, the ball's in front of you. And he was looking off into the stands. I was like, what is he doing? And then I looked into the stands myself, and I saw this crazy woman screaming and yelling and cheering, like, go, go, yes, you can do it. And I was like, is that his mom? And so after the game, he had said that was the first time his mom had come to a soccer game. Oh. And she was so proud to see him doing so well. So the parents that show up, they're just positive, encouraged. They're grateful that their kids get an opportunity to play a team sport. We have what we call a team mom. She's one of the first moms, and she's like the mentor mom. So when new moms come into our program, she tells them, this is what they do. This is how they can help you. Trust in them. So she's been able to help us build a lot of trust with the parents also. It's great.
How do you find the money to pay for the program?
We've been able to apply for some grants to get money to pay for it. We also get a lot of donations from the community. The Community Foundation of Santa Cruz County is super supportive of our program. So when donors are looking for specific ways to donate for specific kids, if we fit that, they'll direct them over to us. The county is able to apply some funds, but not that much because, like I said earlier, probation departments don't usually have soccer teams or programs like this. We are recognized in the nation as being one of the leaders in probation for doing things differently so that kids are successful and that they're not incarcerated.
And then you have a summer academy.
After doing this for a while, I think we're about 5 years into it, during the summer, we saw that the kids, right, that after summer school's over, there's no place for them to go. So we decided to do a 1-week summer camp in Pajaro at the new Pajaro Park. And it was incredible because we could only take 60 kids and we had a waiting list of 40 kids.
Wow.
We did it the first year, 1 week. The second year, we knew we needed to increase. So we've been doing 2 weeks of summer soccer camp in the summer, which is pretty amazing. The only charge fee for kids is $20, and it's waived if they can't pay for it. And in the summer soccer camp, they get breakfast and lunch, which is really needed, especially if there's no summer school. They get a T-shirt, a water bottle with all clean, fresh water that they can drink throughout the day. They get a soccer bag, and they also get a soccer ball at the end of the week that they can go home with and continue to play with. And in the beginning, I coached with a couple adult volunteers, but we quickly knew in growing that we needed to do something differently. So graduates from our program came back and were lead coaches. So right now, our lead coaches are all college players. So they're playing collegiately or have graduated from a college and played collegiately. And then we have all-stars from the high school teams. So the younger kids that are ages 6 to 14 can see themselves in these young people. It's another way that these young kids can say to themselves, they did it, I can do it. And it's a way to inspire them. And so our leads and our high school trainers, they talk about school and college and education. It's part of that community. And it's a lot of fun. And they're learning by some amazing soccer coaches that are very skilled.
Let me first tell people how they can contact you. It's Gina, Gina Castaneda
at santacruzcountyca.gov.
And then the Aztecas Soccer Academy, you can mail them. P.O. Box 1028, Watsonville, California 95076. And that, of course, is important if the community wants to donate some money.
Yeah, absolutely. Donations would be written out to Santa Cruz County Aztecas. We have an account that's set up at the county that's specific for our program, and all donations go directly to the program and the kids.
The community can get involved by donating money, but there's other ways as well, and they can find out by emailing you, because I know we're kind of running out of time, because I always have a good time talking to you. But I want to go back to where in the beginning we talked about people having food insecurity and kids being hungry, but not only kids, also adults. And so there's a group in Santa Cruz at this point, and hopefully it will spread, is collecting cans of tuna that they give to the Second Harvest Food Bank. And so if you are going to some of the major stores, look out for a table where it says, tabling for tuna. And so I say to my listeners, tune in to Tabling for Tuna. Thank you so much, Gina, and I hope people contact you very shortly.